Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Tonight, we are here to give you the final race of the regular season, and it's Talladega. The drivers are set. The rules are simple. We've got a grouping of around 9 drivers that are in a must-win scenario. We got 2 drivers that are fighting to make sure they're not that last position, just in case they could get knocked out. 26 drivers in total have made today's race. One driver's going to be starting in pit row. That's June White after qualifying second. Had a little bit of a disconnect, but will be ready to race starting in pit road, so needs a quick caution to get back out on track. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up the booth is going to be Zach Hall. And Zach, tonight's race is an important one. And every season here in Stars and Stripes, the last race of the regular season is the wild card of Talladega.
It's a great one to add in there, man. This is going to be fun. Like you said, we got multiple different drivers who can still win. Zach Kreitz, Aaron Hill, Christian Lawson, Jason Gratton, Trey Jackson, Ryan Lynch, George Kosick, Brian Birch, and Nate Lynch. So we'll see who can get it done here tonight, maybe get a new winner and get somebody to knock out that person on the cut line.
Ross Tatum grabbed the pole, but is that the lucky place to be? No pole sitter has ever won a Talladega race in the past, but it's season 7. So many things have changed up. All the trends get shaken up, and it's time for us to go green for the ButtKicker 200 as the drivers roar down into turn number 1. You see the 09 able to leave pit road and hoping to attach to the tail end of this pack before they are at full song going through 1 and 2.
Great start all throughout the field, dead even really between all the rows. As right now Andrew Medlin actually nosing ahead of Ross Tatum as they come off of turn number 2 with the help of Dylan Green to push there. Great job by there, but the thing is, it's gonna be fun is how well can these drivers push, because we know how well these bumpers don't line up good and it can cause havoc, but you gotta be able to push just a tiny bit if you want to make speed.
Yeah, and drivers are going to be 3 wide already shown. This was kind of similar to what happened during the beginning of the season, and you're going to see a lot of Talladega. There's plenty of space to go 3 wide as these drivers are going to show with here this evening. But it's going to be senior Ross Tatum leading the charge on the inside row. Andrew Medley, who hasn't been here for the majority of the season, he's been back out on track. And with Talladega being here, it's good to see a large field once again that we've been missing out for the last couple of weeks.
It really is good to see this giant field we got here, and it adds more circumstance to tonight because, you know, more energy in the field, more opportunities for drafting passes to go, and a lot better racing I think we're going to get with the bigger pack here tonight. So great to see the numbers up, and right now you can see it's starting to form up on the top side. Chris Burrell leading that top group, Sam, that third line, it works well.
Already showing a lot of really good speed on that outside row. Also going to have Joshua Altus with hand, and Brian Chu, 18, is very quick at super speedways. And one of the drivers to watch out for, Andrew Hess, trying to make his charge forward. Again, Hess is going to be racing to make sure that he can get in front of Dylan Grimm, as those 2 drivers racing to see who will be 12th in points, because if one of the drivers that's in a potential win and you're in for the playoffs find themselves in the victory lane, you do not want to be that 12th place driver, because it will knock you out, and it's always a scare for these drivers here tonight. And one driver that is in a very just awkward position, Zach Kreitz, the 46 you see on screen, has been so good at Talladega races. When it comes to the last lap, though, that's where the heartbreak is struck. The last 2 seasons, the 46 has been on a must-win trajectory where he needs to get into victory lane, and he'll be leading until the exit of 4, where he's found himself in a wreck these last 2 seasons. And Zach, the heartbreak for Kreitz, he just cannot afford another situation like that.
That would be such a terrible situation to see play out once again. And, you know, Talladega has that way of, you know, making similar things pay out, because it's just such a wild race that you really can't predict, and sometimes drivers just seem to have perpetually bad luck around here, and hopefully that turns around for him, because he's always been a great plate racer and one of the drivers up front. But right now, I mean, it's been already some aggressive racing, 3 wide action, and that's what this Gen 4 car can do here at Talladega. You got the room and the space to really utilize every lane. It really is a car that can race all 3 lanes.
Yeah, and the spacing that allows these drivers to run through lanes, they can go 4 wide at times. There's plenty of spacing to do that, even 5 wide if they really felt like risking it. But if you find drivers going 4 wide, you got a feeling that there's a chance of an accident happening. And it's happened plenty of times in the past. And Talladega has been the last race of the regular season for every season so far in the Stars and Stripes, as we're in season 7 to see if we get the championship this go around. There's been times of races that have had 6 cautions, 4 cautions, but last season, the first ever, no cautions were thrown. The only big one that happened was on the last lap. The drivers recognize, hey, that is a potential with this car. If there's a lot of respect given out tonight, that there could be no yellow that's thrown.
And if there is no yellow, the pit strategy I think is pretty straightforward, Sam. Looking at the fuel window, these Gen 4 cars, surprisingly, to many people's surprise, you can go almost 44 laps here on a tank of fuel. So this race is going to be easily done in a one stop. It's just going to be a question of when do you want to make that pit stop. And sometimes these drivers will run it like a road course where you get right to that fuel window of where you can make it, and then you come to pit road to try to make sure if the caution does come out, you cycle to the front by staying out.
And also looking at the past, 4 out of the 6 last races, the driver that's won the race has only led 1 lap. It was the last one. That was season 5, as well as 4, 1, and 3. The drivers found themselves getting a win on the last lap. There has been no driver, though, that has led more than 3 laps that has gone into victory lane. So if you're up front, being a driver like Andrew Medlin, Chris Worrell, that's trying to lead the most laps right now, hey, that looks good in the leaderboards, I mean, for the stat books, but if you're trying to win at Talladega, it might be better if you're one of those drivers waiting in the back.
It really seems to be that way. Always the driver that swoops in there late and grabs those final few laps, to get that win. And it's been fun to see how that's played out because it's made some wild finishes for us and definitely some ones that we've had some fun calling. So hopefully tonight that trend continues, but some of these drivers up front leading, they're definitely hoping that trend stops as we continue 3-wide racing. I'm waiting for the moment though. When will we see the 4-wide racing happen? Because it will happen. This place is wide enough to get it done, and this car has enough grip to get it done. It's just how long can you do it for?
And who's willing to get aggressive? Like I said, this is the biggest field we've seen in a while. Some names we haven't talked about. Andrew Medlin, who's leading the way. Brian Chu's been missing the last couple of weeks. Also, some other drivers deeper in the field who have only been here a handful of times. Rob Sherwood is out on track in the 22 machine, back in 14th place. There's just a couple of drivers that we haven't really talked about at all, or just haven't shown up, and I'm curious on how they're going to be reacting throughout this race, recognizing the importance of some of the drivers that are in a must-win scenario. And are you going to influence this race, or are you willing to be patient to see how this run's going to go moving forward? And also, with it being Talladega, gives drivers that have been in the back most of the season a chance to fight up front, such as the third driver in the middle row. That's the 65 at George Kovacic, who has gotten a second place finish here in the past. He's thinking maybe tonight could be a night that I could finally get that win.
Like you said, second in the past here before, he would like to one up that, and what a Cinderella story that would be, because man, Kovacic normally a driver that is towards the back end of the field, but man, these plate tracks, it gives anybody the ability to go up here and mix it up. And right now, Kovacic definitely up there aggressively in that middle lane, but it seems like the middle's kind of dying out. It seems like the bottom and the top have stayed formed up, but those 3 cars right in the middle have kind of got left all alone. So it's kind of looking like a little bit of an awkward moment, but we'll see if anybody elects to jump up behind them. But they're hanging strong still, just 3 cars in the middle.
Hey, sometimes beginning of these super speedway races, it's knowledge, learning, okay, massive runs and then build up. How many drivers do we need to have in line with capital speed race up front? And right now proving it. You can have just 3 drivers in line, and it's enough to stay stable side by side with the group to the inside or outside. But having more than 3 is probably the number you're looking for if you want to start making some moves. And with the sign of the 05, Scott Rickard starting to move forward, our season 5 winner of this race, he's now starting to show some speed in the middle groove, not wanting to just be patient and waiting for a different spot to open up. As you see the 4 of Aaron Hale, one of those drivers on the outside in a must-win scenario, but also running a different scheme. As you see on screen, that's the 99 of James Lowe, who is different colors here this evening.
Definitely some different colors for him going right now. So interesting to see the white and the light blue for him. So cool to see some new schemes out there, and definitely some great moments going on right now with this racing. But The one thing I think that a lot of people at home maybe don't understand with the drafting influence of just how these cars race and work, Sam, is you got to really manage not only your distance to the driver ahead of you, but how much air is getting to the front of the nose. That's where the cooling system for these engines are. They will quickly overheat, and that's one thing you got to manage really as a driver who's pushing behind the driver behind them. It is a tough position to be in, but the ones that can manage it the best will make the best time.
Find the true speed and protect their equipment, as right now it looks to be the inside row being led by Andrew Medlin. Chris Worrell is really doing that of Dylan Grimm, who's doing a great job. Worrell leading that middle groove, Altus on the outside. And see Nate Lynch backing off, not really being on the back bumper of that 23. I'm curious if that's a decision made for the 23 machine to have that big of a bubble as he ramps it back up close to the gap. See what massive launch these drivers gonna have on the exit of turn 2, and that the juggling match you were just talking about, Zach, of trying to save your engine by not getting too close to the driver in front of you, and also making sure you're giving yourself enough space so that you're helping your lane work together is also kind of a tricky mess that the drivers are gonna have to work with.
It really is. You got to manage those runs. If you build too big of a gap, it can cause those cars to close into you. That can cause kind of a checkup. So evenly spacing out yourself between the car in front of you, the car behind you, can really help the energy, help the momentum of the full line going forward, and it doesn't cause those checkups. When you see this race here on the outside of it, it looks like these drivers aren't really running into too many issues. It's just hold it flat to the floor, just turn left and pick which lane you want to go in. But a lot of times in these lanes, you're running up on the back of someone and having to lift aggressively, not to run them over, and that's where things can get a little dangerous. But that's where it comes down to, again, having those even spacings and not those big gaps that'll cause these big accordion effects.
When you're on the freeway highway, you're going from 60 to 70 miles per hour for some, and you got your lanes that you're trying to stay with. Well, these drivers, they are not going just 60 or 70 miles per hour. They are coming off the exit of the corner, going to 195 miles per hour. That is the lowest speed they're hitting through the tri-oval. Almost 200 miles per hour for some. Our leaders staying at around 196. The air holding them back, but the speeds that these drivers are carrying, Zach, I mean, you got to get a sense of it for yourself running on Wednesday nights for the WSSR Roast Gens Cup Series as you run the Gen 4 cars as well. I mean, the speed is incredible just to see on screen, let alone thinking about what the drivers are handling with.
It is immense, and I can say, I mean, I in the car myself, I've seen times of 204 down the back straightaway. So it is, it's pretty crazy how fast you can actually get these Gen 4 cars up to, and they will definitely roll out. And it's crazy to even think you can't really push too hard. You're kind of just leaning on the back bumper, kind of just shoving it forward. You're not really doing too much as Chris Worrell got a little bit too much of a shove there from Andrew Medlin. That shoots him down the track, but good save, and we stay clean as it's going to be Joshua Altis who drops all the way to the bottom to lead this lap. But it shows you how fast things can slip up. Again, that bumper's alignment's very, very dangerous and can easily cause a wreck at anyone.
Altus going with that dive bomb move from the top down to the bottom, just trying to figure out what lane you want to defend. Usually in real life, we see a lot of defending moves as Chris Worrell's going to slide it to the middle groove. Doesn't want to just stay in the wake of the 94. Interesting call by Chris Worrell, though, trying to be the lead driver of the lane that he's in. Doesn't want to be following, which means that he's using a lot more fuel than what other drivers are using, and it seems to be the choice for the 6. He feels a lot more comfortable being the leader instead of the follower.
That it is. It looks like that's what his goal is, and some drivers, that's what their mindset is every single lap out here, try to be in a position to go forward. Don't be in somewhere you can get stuck, because if he does get stuck on that bottom lane, you can get kind of trapped there. I mean, you look at Andrew Medlin, who's behind Joshua Altis. He can't go up and make a move. He has the yellow line below him. He can't go below, and he has the drivers up above him that he can't move into. So you do get trapped when sometimes you get down there. So completely understanding him jumping up there and trying to make his own destiny, as you would say.
Well, we're about to see our leaders have their first true obstacle of the night as Gene White, but start on pit road, got disconnected right when drivers were bringing him up. He missed his chance to stay with the lead group as he qualified second. He's going to make the choice to stay out on track, and he looks to be trying to go to the outside lane. We'll see how the drivers want to squeeze and give space to the lap car that's running a total of 3 seconds, almost 4 seconds slower than this lead pack. And here we go with the 09, trying to get some help and assistance to run that third groove. Andrew Hess trying to help out. He's willing to give up the space, and the 09 able to keep enough momentum, and he'll stay with the lead pack.
That's good for June White. If he would have lost much more momentum, if say such Andrew Hess wouldn't have kind of went behind him right there, he wouldn't have probably grabbed onto this pack and could have possibly been going 2 laps down here in the next few moments. He's someone's bouncing off the wall up ahead of him. I think that might have been Ryan Lynch, if I'm not mistaken, but a little bit of a contact there off the outside wall.
Just looking a little bit loose, and it's a trend we haven't really talked about very often when we come to super speedways. Tire wear, it's a factor that wasn't talked about probably until the last 6 months to almost a year. There was some tire changes with iRacing and main super speedway racing where tires are now actually quite important that the drivers are dealing with. And it looks like for Ryan Lynch, he's old and feeling a little bit of that pain as issues for June White again, disconnected well in the middle of this pack. And the 09 looks to be having his night done.
That it does look done, so man, tough break for him, and it was a manual disconnect too, so it wasn't just a loss of connection, so it must be, like you said, calling it and made there for him. He's going to lap down, and that's a tough break there for June White, one of the playoff contenders who wanted to use this last regular season race maybe to get some more points built up, but just is not going to be able to do it. We're staying 3 wide for the moment, and it's been some great racing up here.
June White, we know, is going to be a factor when this playoffs come around. It's staying 3 wide, and Zach, you look at the stats of the first race of the season, Daytona. I know it's a learning lesson for some, as you got all these rookies that come in and you're trying to remember everyone else's tendencies. But Daytona, there were 6 cautions during that race, 4 different leaders, but 31 lead changes. We're seeing the lead changes happening for sure, as it looks to be the same rotation of 3 to 4 guys that are taking the lead, leading a lap. First newcomer on the outside, it's Diego Valle, who's looking quick at 68, as he's got Thomas Olga behind. But man, the spacing that Talladega gives comparatively to Daytona, it looks like this field, they want to try to replicate what they did last season here with no cautions.
It's very doable in my opinion, and it's so different than Daytona because that place, man, it's, you brought up handling before this thing too. This car, in my opinion, has probably the most important handling at a super speedway track. It's up there with, I'd say, the 1987 cars. You really start to wear the tires out, and it will have an effect on how your car drives and how you can push and how you can, stay in the middle of a pack. When you're running that middle line and you're having balance issues, that can get very, very scary. So those handling issues can creep in very, very quickly with this car. So these drivers kind of watch out for that as this run continues on. And I wouldn't be surprised if we stay green. They're doing a good job keeping it 3 wide. And if we do stay green, I think our first pit stops, personally, are going to be around lap 40. That'll set us up with 35 to go. That gives them plenty of room if we get some green-white checkers to have some extra fuel.
Drivers have maxed out on their fuel. I think the question then will loom when they do make that stop. Where will the tires be for themselves? We're 21 laps in the books of tonight's race of 75. Thank you for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We are going to take our first commercial break of the evening. Thank you so much for joining with us on your Thursday evening. Season 7, Race 10. It's been a good one so far for the ButtKicker 200. And we will be back right after this for more racing action for Super Speedway. We'll be back in just a few.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. visit iRacing.com.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Stars and Stripes Racing Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, your Thursday night coverage of the ButtKicker 200 at Talladega, the last race of the regular season. The storylines are straight and simple. We got around 9 drivers that are in a must-win scenario. If they get a win, they're going to be knocking out either Dylan Grimm or Andrew Hess from the playoffs, as everyone's hoping to be inside of the top 12 in points, but the points gap, we got so ballooned out and large, and we already have our 12 drivers that are set. It's now in the hands of the must-win drivers if they're going to switch things up, and we're seeing some drivers that are giving their first opportunities of the season really to run up front. It's Brian Chu and also George Kowalczyk leading that middle groove and showing some speed with the likes of Ryan Lynch as well. It's all the guys that are usually running for 20th place that are right now battling for the lead here, Zach.
That they are, and Ryan Lynch and George Kowalczyk, if they go win this race, they will lock themselves in. So that what a Cinderella story that would be for both of them. We'll just have to see how it plays out throughout the night as Valle leads the way up on that top groove, and we're getting the push on the bottom. As it stayed 3 wide, I think, since pretty much lap 3 or 4 of this race. So this is impressive to see. And again, I'm just waiting. Will they push it 4 wide here at some point, Sam? At some point, somebody's got to get a little bit impatient and say, man, I can't go nowhere in this 3 wide mess. We got to make another lane.
I know Stars and Stripes known for bringing out races. We don't see cautions really coming out very often. I wouldn't be surprised if they wait until those last 10 laps before they think about maybe going 4 wide. Also, could be just a handling thing. Is oh no, Andrew Hess into the wall on the back stretch, and they keep it straight. Scott Rickard also going to be involved. Everyone scattering on the back stretch onto the apron. They keep it straight. We stay green, but Andrew Hess, who could not afford an instant like that, last season's champion, they might be in trouble of losing the draft with the amount of damage he's grabbed.
And that's a huge, mistake there from him, because if he does lose that draft, if he goes laps down, he's losing out major points to Dylan Grimm. And if he is 12th in points after his night's over with, and someone, wins that is able to lock themselves in with the requirements, that would be such a heartbreaking story for our last season champion. That would be very surprising to see him out.
And looking back at the incident, looked like a little bit of quote-unquote wind action as well. Scott Ricker just a slight pinch down that middle groove, collecting the 54's rear quarter panel and getting him just under 45 degrees sideways. So these drivers will continue to stay green. That scare now what once was 25 drivers that were collected in a huge backdoor with one another. Now there is a massive split up of 3 distinctive different packs. You got the lead group, that's around 13 drivers, and then you've got our second pack, that's the drivers that are from 14th position back to 21st, and then a scattering of drivers from 22nd back to 25th, and some past winners. They're now all on their own, and drivers that are in must-win scenarios, well, the majority of them are in this lead pack to watch out for.
That they are, and these this has been some great racing, and I think that those two groups are going to catch up. At least watching the Delta right now, it's shrinking every single foot around this racetrack because they are getting a little bit of a draft off this big pack. So I think that second group now it was like you said, two separate groups of cars in line. They've now formed into one. They should quickly now catch up as they're about almost under a second behind the group now.
Almost ready to try to pounce on this lead pack. They got the draft, they got the speed, and they should be getting a massive run here from 14th position. That's Rob Sherwood. Curious on how he's going to tackle this run that he's going to have off the backstretch, as well as seeing Ross Tatum as he flirts to go make it 3 wide again. And as the packs are closing up on one another, let's get a sense on what it's like to hear the roars here at Talladega as Chris Rule's your leader. We're going to be doing a little bit of ride along, crank it up, and get a sense on what these drivers are feeling out there on track. Back, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed the crank it up here in Talladega. The roars, the screams, the drivers are putting on a show, still fighting 3 wide for drivers that are up front. It's Chris Worrell as well as Joshua Altus, Brian Chu, the drivers to watch out for as they have been having a great run, but a different leader for the top group. Now going to be Thomas Ogle in the 11 machine, who's been looking like one of the favorites to go for a championship run once the playoffs begin. But thank you so much for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me up in the booth is Zach Hall with Robert Moyer Jr. in the production chair. If you're just joining us, well, welcome to Talladega, the ButtKicker 200 for the Stars and Stripes Racing Series. It's the last race of the regular season. See who will be the 12 drivers running for a championship. We've lost only one driver, that's June White, who was having internet issues before the race even began. Tried to start from pit road, ran a couple laps, and then had to ultimately disconnect and called it an evening for himself. We did have one on-track incident that almost brought out a yellow, that of Andrew Hess and Scott Rickard making contact that really broke up this lead pack that was initially 25 drivers, now down to simply 21. As Joshua Robinson, that of Derek Offerman, find themselves 3.5 seconds off of this lead pack. But about to be going a lap down, a small little dot hits Scott Rickard in the 05. Curious on how he's going to react, as he's not just about 4 seconds off speed like June White was earlier. Right now, Scott Rickard is almost a full 10 seconds off the pace. He'll go to the apron as the drivers roar on by. On the outside, the 05 stays on the apron. Luckily, no contact, simple, easy, and Zach, like that, the lead pack continues to roar on 3 wide.
Whew, you can see the difference of speed from one car to the next. Just, I mean, it's simply explained. I mean, if you look at qualifying the pole around the 51.5 second lap, we're running 48.5 second here. So, I mean, that's 3 seconds a lap faster, and that's what it looks like when you pass it by 3 seconds a lap faster. And it's just crazy to see how much, taking away the aero and just how much putting these cars together in a pack can actually create that much more speed. It is kind of mind-boggling to see how the physics of that work.
Yeah, well, it's crazy to look at. And we will have another driver to watch out for that's going to be going a lap down, that being Andrew Hess. That is around about 3 seconds ahead of our leaders. We'll see him be going a lap down here very shortly. But Zach, we just saw this field being 3 wide. There's still 3 wide, but a lot more have just fallen in place, single filing out. As we're inching closer and closer to that zone you were thinking about was going to be the green flag pit stop window.
Yeah, I think that window is just about to be near here in the next 2 laps. You technically could pit right now and have enough fuel to make it to the end of this race. I think the reason why you want to stretch it at least another 2 to have that kind of a Goldilocks zone, as we like to call it, is because of that, the possibility of a late race caution that we have to go into extended time for overtime. And you got to add extra mileage in it. It's like, hey, Lynch jumped out to make it 3 wide once again. It was calmed down back to 2 wide because I think that's because pit road is getting ready to happen here in these next few moments. So should start seeing these guys start to try to get down to the bottom lane here, Sam.
Visually, we're starting to see a lot more drivers just going to that bottom lane, but nothing over the radio, nothing over driver chat that has indicated that drivers are going to come into pit road. But one driver that's getting me a little nervous, Nate Lynch, who took the 3rd lane. That 25 machine was not giving any space for Brian Kovacic correctly riding on one another. Well, no communication, but pit stops into pit road. Going to be seeing the teammates making their stop from that of Grim Roberts Racing. Going to be coming together. And 4 drivers, 0 communication to the field. That's a dangerous move that we just saw there.
Yeah, it can be a little bit hectic, guys. As long as you're in the bottom lane, in my opinion, it's fine. You're not swiping across the track, and you're getting clearly off the racing surface before you start to slow down. You can't slow down on the surfaces. Oh, looks like something happened up here, Sam.
Drivers spooked between one another, trying to get back in line. And just a complete wreck from George Kovacic into the outside wall, and the field said, we don't want to be a part of this. Everyone jumped the apron. As Christopher Wade and 65 were the ones that made the contact, but most of the field now deciding, okay, let's just get out of the way, not worry about it. Into pit road, a majority of drivers smoking, and we're going to have our first yellow of the day as contact between that of the 31 coming off the exit of pit road, and drivers are still scattering and wrecking.
Yeah, that was very weird because I think Valle was getting turned around in a 6 a whirl. I don't know what happened to him, but some reason he just lost it. I don't know if he just locked the brakes up and shot toward him.
Well, here's what brought out the yellow, and it looks like Ryan Lynch just brake checking Dylan Grimm, which then shoots them up into the field, which brings out the yellow. But then you see that of Chris Worrell just shoot down and take out the 68, and what a bizarre circumstance to bring out the caution. I mean, caution was already thrown. That was just go down there, take out the 68, and now that's going to be causing drivers that if you didn't use your fast repair, well, you're going to use it now. As we run up more with the 6 and slow-mo, what the heck's going on? I mean, does he think maybe the 68 was going to come back on track and thought he was going to go under? I mean, that's a bizarre moment.
I think that's almost what it was. I think he almost made a reaction to the 68 coming up, because I mean, that's the only thing that can explain in my brain, because I didn't see the nose slam down to the ground. Normally when you see someone, slam on the brakes, it wasn't like he braked hard and lost the rear end. It was more like he thought, I think the 68 was going to come farther up the racetrack, and he made a last second decision to go left, and right there, that is a destroyed race car. And luckily for them, they do have one fast repair.
What in the world? Another situation also, I mean, the initial wreck, what was going on with Ryan Lynch? I mean, it looked like just brake checked Dylan Grimm.
The only thing I can think there, Sam, is I think he might have missed a shift coming through the gears, because it's the only thing that made, the car just suddenly just completely stopped going forward. It didn't seem like the brakes were applied. It just seemed like all power was lost. And again, with these cars, the way they jack up, it just caused that accordion effect as multiple cars stacked up on top of each other. And I talked about I was just about to talk about how they timed it well with the caution coming out, but they were a part of the caution, so it didn't work out for a few of those guys who came down early.
And with that, drivers, again, they do have fast repairs to work with, so the field is not completely done and dusted just yet, but if you'd like to just get repairs done, you can just sit in pit road and manually get those repairs done without using your fast repair. And it looks like for Scott Rickard, Ryan Lynch, that will be their decision not to use a fast repair. Those that have used a fast repair are going to be Diego Valle, Greg Kovacic are going to be the two, as well as Chris Worrell, using their fast repairs for today's race. No surprise they had to, after the 68 and the 6 just blasting their way into one another.
That had to be an interesting moment between those two. I mean, the 68 trying to get turned around, and I think, again, I just think that 6 maybe overreacted there, thinking that he was going to come up farther and shot for the lower side, and unfortunately that's where Diego was. But again, we do have that fast repair, so the 6 is actually completely fine now, car completely repaired. But that takes away, if they do get involved in a wreck in that 6 team, that takes away any advantage they a little bit have had. So looks like Altice and Medlin will jump to the front of the field because they made that pit stop and they got out of it clean, Sam.
Got out of it clean. Rob Sherwood is going to have a black flag that he's going to have to serve under green flag conditions. Looks like he got caught speeding, so he'll have to serve a stop and go penalty for himself. But man, as this field, that was a bizarre moment that we were preparing for. This race had been 3 wide, clean and green. Well, no longer. First caution of the day for tonight's race. And we look at the races that have had cautions in the past. The season 5 race at the lowest, besides the last season with 0, there was only 2 cautions. And I got a feeling with some of the maybe drivers with some hurt feelings, they might have to cause some reckless moves. And Zach, I know you were harping on it. You wanted to see 4 wide. Who was going to risk it? Well, we're in the second half of the race. I think this is the time we're going to see some drivers make some daring moves.
We very well might see those risks be turned up a little bit more, as the drivers are willing to go out there and get a little bit more frisky out there on the track. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, this is grouped everybody, of course, back up together, and we'll get to see, they've learned a lot. That's the big thing, is when you race these races, you talked about it earlier, Sam, you learn how many cars it takes to make a line work. What type of run do you need? How far back can you be from somebody to get that draft? And we'll see some people, I think, play a few little different things here now that they've had that majority of experience in the middle of the pack. They might have learned a few more things to make this race a little bit more racy, and we'll see what goes on, because We've been 3 wide. It's just who can make their way through that 3 wide madness.
3 drivers going to be left 1 lap down. Scott Rickard, that of Diego Valle, and Ryan Lynch going to be the 3 drivers stuck being a lap down. 22 going to be on the lead lap once we go green. As we'll do a quick shout out for our 2 major sponsors here for the Stars and Stripes Racing Series, as they've helped out in plenty of different seasons, being ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Go on over to ButtKicker. Instead of just hearing the sounds, get yourself immersed by feeling the sounds with ButtKicker. And what do you need attached to your Gamer 2 from ButtKicker 2? Well, you need a racing rig or connected to a chair. If you want a racing rig, go to Next Level Racing. From budgeted to more expensive, they've got you set up to race on the next level. Go to Next Level Racing today to purchase your items now. As we are back to Green Flag Racing, it's Andrew Medlin, Joshua Altis roaring down into turn number 1.
Leading the way from the early pit stop, and this is the advantage of that early pit stop. You pit before everybody, you jump them now because they all come down the pit road. Medlin on Altis leading the way as we'll see how Chris Worrell's able to get some action going as James Lowe in the 99 now up front along with Jason Gratton up to the top 5.
Jason Gratton, I know one of the fan favorites right now in chat. We got a lot of people rooting for that 8 machine. If we look back to last season, Gratton and also Zach Price were the 2 drivers in must-win scenarios that needed some help on the end of it. Well, it didn't work out for themselves. They both got caught up in the big one for season 6. But here tonight, slowly making the charge forward is the 8 machine, as well as some other company of drivers that are going to be in must-win scenarios. That Christian Washington, the 3 machine. What a weird season the 3 has had. At moments, looking competitive enough for some top 5 finishes throughout the season, and at other times it's a 15 vehicle. You just never know what you're going to find with some of these drivers that have been looking very inconsistent.
It's easy to be inconsistent from track to track. This car takes such a different driving style than any other car on the service, and then when you take it to different tracks, you can completely change that style once again. So it's very, very tough, and I'm not surprised to see some drivers being very inconsistent with it, and maybe looking to come out here to get that Hail Mary of a win here tonight. As it's starting to get a little bit heated up here as Ross Tatum has now led that 3rd line. As it looks like Scott Rickard making the aggressive move to get up there as he's caught back up to the pack now.
Joshua Robinson in the 30 machine who's been lingering in 25th place all night long. Now going to be charging to get inside of our top 5 is the 30. And the drivers working that outer groove. And, for the racing, even the bump draft, giving the pushes. From an outside point of view for the broadcast, it's so easy to say, hey, just check up. There's a car in front of you that's slowing down or closing the gap. There's a hole that's just too big. But from a driver's point of view, we get a ride along with someone in the middle. I mean, it is so difficult to pick where you feel the most comfortable because there's just not a lot of viewing aspects here. I mean, each driver searching for the speed to be at, but it's such a claustrophobic feeling when you got to your outside, you're inside, and you can barely see what's in front of you.
Oh, it really is, and especially when you're in the middle lane, like we're riding on board right here, and we get a good shot with Brian Chu as he's riding in the 8th place right now, right in the middle of this group. And the big thing with the middle is you cannot wander around. You have to stay in your lane, because if you wash up low or you wash up high, you're going to be causing major issues. And that's the thing that really makes this thing, I would say, claustrophobic, because it just feels like you're grouped up beside each of your sides and you just really can't find that way out. And you're running up to the car in front of you, trying not to run them over. So it's one of those situations where you just kind of feel boxed in, and it could be a very, very tense moments for sure.
And as well, you look at their top right, you can see in the mirror, it is full of vehicles, and you just don't know where they're going to go, and just panning all around. And this is kind of what the drivers get a sense of. Now, in their actual view, they don't get to turn this far over in real racing. But luckily for our cameras, we can look over virtually. It's nice to get a look around. This is what the cockpit view can be like. And this type of movement of able to look around, for some drivers, they should race with a system called a VR rig. And Zach, for some, they prefer to run with the VR rig for themselves.
That they can. And, also with triple screens, you can see your left and right peripheral. So some guys have monitors where you got the center monitor that, everybody try and true starts off of. But then they'll add the 2 monitors on the side to get the peripheral angles, and man, it's getting pretty hairy right here right now as it's starting to stack up in this middle group as everybody is, I think, feeling the claustrophobic feelings of Brian Chu right now as he's pushing James Lowe to the lead.
Our camera operator, he was a slight vertigo feeling there, pushing forward while turning. But luckily for the drivers, they continue to point straight as, oh boy, hold on, Brian Lynch getting a little bit squeezed as he pushes that 24 to the outside lane. And, you know, like we noted on before, there's drivers that really don't get to run up front very often, and this is their first time to be up front, and they got to run smooth and not be the driver that causes the big one. We've already had a couple of moments that could have brought out some wrecks. They continue to just hold on as Chris World has a slight slip up from that yellow line.
Yeah, some slip-ups is starting to happen for sure, and the 24 of Brian Lynch, he's had a tough time keeping that car lower in the middle groove. So we got to watch out for him. I think if anything's going to happen, it's going to start around that 24 here. He's having, I'd say, a little bit of a tough time keeping the car down. And that can happen when you get in the dirty air in the drafts, as we say. It really can push that car up the racetrack because it just doesn't have the grip. You can see there Chris Worrell, he's bailing out because I think he knows just the energy of the field just doesn't feel good. He wants to get to the back of this field as right now Joshua Robinson leading the top line.
For that 6 machine, luckily has to get by and help out and allow the 6 to stay attached. But yeah, that innate feeling, kind of a sixth sense that drivers have of you can just, there's something that's always tingling that's making you feel like, all right, there could be a big one happening. And you're seeing some drivers that maybe aren't able to hold their line, moving forward, slide aggressively, or just look dangerous and just decide, all right, let's back out of this. Let's see from a back point of view, and that's what Chris Worrell went for. All the other drivers, though, especially if you're on the outside, the middle, your fate is in the hands of one another and all the drivers around you. The inside of the row, that's a little bit more leeway. If an accident happens, they can duck down to the apron. But that's just a hope that you dive down there and no one collects you.
That is for sure a hope. Every time you can see a wreck at a play track, you're hoping you can make it through. So great instinct there from Chris Worrell. And again, that's something drivers just do. They feel like they need to back out of the situation. And you really only see that at, super speedway style racing because you can give up, those positions because it's just the ability to fight back. You don't really lose too much time. You just ride behind the field so you can drop back there, kind of get your feelings collected and make sure maybe you're not caught up in that incident. So it's definitely odd to see when you're racing that you just kind of pull over and let everybody by, but you can do that in this style of racing.
Well, we've lost another driver, being Rob Sherwood has called it back for the 22 machine, as it just felt like there was too much for him to continue racing for. But for tonight's race, we're going to take our final commercial break. This is going to be probably the last time that we can, and we'll see if the drivers can continue to stay 3 wide, as there's no more pit stops to worry about. This is the final race of the regular season. Who's making the top 12 in points? Who's no longer has a chance? We'll find out once the ButtKicker 200 is done. We'll be back right after this.
5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my, the 5 wide here. This ain't gonna work. They make it last. Bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. Look at it. That's it.
It's bottom line, here it comes.
I know, Carter gets wrecked. It's going to be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trinity driving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes. Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck it.
Oh, they wrecked. They wrecked each other. The top two bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they got to be careful. Oh no, and the 4 demolishes into 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Stars and Stripes Racing Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. The ButtKicker 200 at Talladega. This is the last race to see who's in or out of the playoffs. Only 12 drivers make it in. 10 were locked in before this race even started. It was Dylan Grimm, Andrew Hess to have their fates up in hand on who's in or out. And for Dylan Grimm, he had a 10-point buffer over the likes of the 54 of Hess. Hess has had some major troubles here tonight, but luckily has a faster to work with and is still on the lead lap. But tonight's race, it's crunch time, less than 20 laps to go, as they are getting themselves prepared for who's going to win. And my name is Sam Dyer. I've got Zach Hall with me, and Zach, they're catching up to another lap car. That's Ryan Lynch. We'll see how they can survive this encounter for themselves.
Yeah, let's see if this gets a little bit spicy for us, or does it just stay nice, calm, and cool here as we're going to come by the 31 on the apron, and Ryan Lynch doing the nice, respectful thing, just going to keep it nice and low, and he's going to go now down another lap there, Sam. So unfortunate for the 31, as we do have somewhat of a race for the lucky dog. I mean, you got Scott Rickard right now. He is 22nd on the scoreboard, but he's up there in the 3rd car in that outside lane behind Ross Tatum. Then Diego Valle, he's about the last car in the pack. So 2 different mentalities here, Sam. We're trying to get the lucky dog, because if you remember, if Scott Rickard, even though he's up ahead of Diego Valle and the caution comes out, if he's involved in the incident at all and gets any incident point to be involved with it, he will not get that lucky dog. So 2 different mentalities here of going about getting this lucky dog.
And that incident point is when things kind of get slightly tricky, because if a wreck happens on the front stretch and you're Diego Valle or Scott Rickard and you have to make a maneuver to go down to the grass, that will count as an incident point because that's going off track. So these drivers have to stay on course even if a wreck happens and make sure they don't make any contact. That can be tricky when you're going over 200 miles per hour here at Talladega. It's been a fast one, as we've only had 1 caution so far here tonight. It was a weird, bizarre wreck coming out of pit road in the middle of the pit cycle, and the drivers kind of finishing each other off at the end of the incident of trying to evade, but then making contact type of a wreck. But we've been 3 wide practically for, I would say, 90% of this race. Drivers have been putting on the pressure. Pick a lane, hope that that's the one that moves forward, as we're not expecting anyone to have to make a pit stop from here on out, which, Zach, that's the key for tonight's race. No more pit stops. It is all about go, go, go. But when is it too late to try to make that move forward?
That's always the big question, because what's tough, you see the 3 wide action, so that means you can pass. There is availability in the lines to go forward. But what happens is you'll see sometimes, we kind of see it for a majority of the night, all 3 lanes operate pretty similarly. They don't really have a lane that I would say is the dominant lane. It's really, you can see at moments where the top lane's the fastest, where the middle lane's the fastest, where the bottom lane is the fastest. So it's tough to position yourself when make positions up when those lanes are so even that you can't really, push someone far enough out there to where they drop down in front of somebody, then that line moves forward. So it's tough to make passes. You kind of feel like you're in almost like a traffic jam situation, such as someone like, like a Jason Gratton or a Kyle Bowling, who's kind of right in the middle of this field. They're kind of just stuck right now. They're just playing with what they got, and they'll hope some opportunity opens up, but if nothing does, you're kind of just stuck there. So that's what makes passing in kind of track position actually very important here.
Trust, as we're seeing all 3 lanes being utilized. A little bit of close racing action, though, for the middle to top lane. Really putting the squeeze as you kind of hope, hey, maybe you'll stay in your own lane. You got the dotted lines, why not stay there? But it's more of a feeling sensation for drivers. When they turn down into the corner, an outside lane doesn't want to be directly on that outside wall. You gotta give each other space to allow the driver that's behind whoever you are to move up just let get some fresh air on that front grille so your engine doesn't expire, and it gives you enough momentum and speed and energy in that engine so you can start pushing forward, get aggressive, especially with the laps ticking the way that they are. I mean, Zach timing it perfectly to make sure your engine's at the right temp, the tires are at the right spot, you're in the right position to move forward.
You're exactly right, and the timing is the biggest thing in my opinion, especially when it comes to temperatures. If you get down to those last 2 to 3 laps and your temperature is within 20 to 30 degrees of overheating, you're not in a good range. You need to have a 30, 40, 50 maybe degree headroom to give you that ability to push, appropriately and give your line the most speed. So this is strategically getting down to that point. Once you're getting down to 10 to go, 5 to go, you're preparing, you're building up those little bit of headrooms, and you got to make sure also that you're not giving up time though, because you can easily push yourself back by just trying to save that temperature. So right now these drivers are playing it cool and trying to cool the engines off.
As the stats coming into tonight's race, we have never had a driver that had the pole or led the most laps win the race. It has been a different driver that has led the most laps or has gotten the pole, has gone into victory lane. If you've led the most laps, I mean, it's a good honor to have, but you're most likely going to get caught up in something. Now, that trend changed up at Daytona. That's because the track's a lot more narrow, and so drivers you kind of are stuck where you're at in the mercy of one another. Here at Talladega, the last 6 winners have been drivers that have led 3 or less laps, and 4 out of the last 6 races have been a driver that has led just 1. It was the last lap. So drivers recognize, hey, if you haven't been up front, it means that you still have a very good likelihood. If you look at the percentages of drivers that have led laps to winning the race, hey, you got a good chance of maybe winning tonight.
That it will very well looks like. So we'll see who can be that last dash effort to get up there and steal the victory away, as they would say. It's going to be tough. I mean, at some point here, again, somebody's going to have to make a move to maybe make it 4 wide if they want to go forward, because you can just see, look at the bottom, the top, the middle. They're pretty much dead even. Nobody's really getting far enough ahead to make any headroom, and this is what's making this a tough decision for guys that are stuck farther back that are in a must-win position. They know it's going to be go time here, and really, the 5 to go, I would say you need to start making something happen, because if you don't, it's going to run out of time quickly.
And drivers are so frustrated either. It's pretty hard to pick and choose who's the winner. Right now, it looks like that bottom lane is where the speed is at to be able to have just enough momentum to cross the start-finish line and have the lead with 10 laps to go. Anyone still has a chance. For that of, for Andrew Medlin coming into this race, if he wins, that's just a stolen victory, and it's assisting Dylan Grimm and Andrew Hess. James Lowe's already inside of our top 12 in points and locked in. Josh Robinson as well, already locked in. It's the drivers behind them that are in a tricky spot. The first of those that are in a position of you win and you're in, it's the 8 machine of Jason Gratton, but he's trapped. 3rd car on the inside, and as well Dylan Grimm is 3rd car on the outside. It's the 3rd row where we see drivers that are in that win and you're in situation.
And that's a tough row to be coming out of to try to get the win, because you can see Gratton there on the bottom. He has the 24 to his outside. He has the yellow line to his inside. He really is just boxed in right now and just has the hope that their line goes forward. But right now the inside lane's losing momentum. Andrew Medlin dropping back because the middle and the top are flying.
Flying right now, and it's Brian Lynch who's going to duck to the inside row, not having the momentum that's necessary to push him forward, but he's going to stay side by side. The 24 going to get some help from Andrew Medlin, and Medlin, who's been leading that inside row, he's got an engine that full song. He could push the 24 to be ahead. And Brian Lynch, what I'm talking about Cinderella stories, what an impossibility this could be for a driver that's hoping to get into victory lane, that's been running in this league all 7 seasons. And could tonight be a chance for a driver to grab their first career win in the Stars and Stripes Racing Series.
Wow, what a Cinderella story that would be here. As like you said, you got Andrew Medlin with a cool engine who's been leading that line, that's ability to push. But again, down the back straightaway, that outside and middle lane have been really good at rolling with speed. The inside's going to fight back here through the middle of 3 and 4, but just down these long straightaways, I think you'll want to be in that middle or top groove, because remember, Talladega, unlike Daytona, the line is not in the middle of the tri-oval. It is after the tri-oval, and even after pit road, it's much farther down there, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, you can exit out of the corner, and it's not until now. That is plenty of time to lose speed, lose momentum, and be out of this zone. For Andrew Medlin, I mean, he's in a position where, oh boy, slight contact for that outside and middle row as they're entering turns 1. But Andrew Medlin, he might have gotten a little bit too giddy. He got a massive run helping out the 24, but now his engine is right back to where the rest of the field was at. And now their engine temps starting to scream higher and higher with 7 laps to go. James Lowe ducks low, and it's Brian Chu now leading the middle groove.
More drivers willing to drop into position, and that's surprising to see Lowe jump down there. I was very surprised to see him do that. He was leading that middle line, but I think Brian Chu here in a prime spot here to be able to hold on to this and maybe possibly be having a hold of the lead here, as now the outside lanes come with the head of steam.
Outside, getting the run. That's Josh Robinson trying to get some help from Ross Tatum. Tatum trying to break the trend of where a pole sitter has never won here. And the 21 has a lot of speed to work with, as they're still 3 by 3 all the way through this pack with 6 laps to go. Well, Zach been questioning, when are they going to go 4 wide? Well, they might be running out of time to make that move, as Chu and Robinson once again get close on the entry of the corner.
That was so close there between those two, as they got very, very close to being an incident. As Chu, you know, he's got to decide, what does he want to do? Does he drop low? Does he stay middle? Does he go top? There's so many decisions to be made for all of these drivers, and the wrong one could be the one that causes the big one, because look at everybody just all stacked up on top of each other. If we have one car wreck, it's going to be most of the field.
On the lead lap, we got 3 drivers that have used their fast repair. The 65 and George Kovasic in 10th place, 4th car in the middle. He's already used his fast repair, as well as Chris Whirl and going to be that of Andrew Hess that have used their fast repairs here tonight. They are expecting a wreck to happen. So Whirl, as well as others, have already backed out. Jason Grattan has fallen all the way back to 18. He's just got a feeling that this wreck is about to balloon out. 5 laps to go, soon to be 4, and they're still stuck 3 by 3. 4 rows deep, and continuing to show that there's some massive speed to be shown, and asking for 4 wide. Well, Aaron Hale says, maybe I'll give it a try. Who's going to join the 4 on that 4th lane as he makes an incredible move up to 5th on the outside row?
And he's going to drop it back down to make it 3 wide here, as he's made that pass, and definitely made the 3 of Christian Lawson think, wow, that was an aggressive one, but that's what people are going to have to do. If the door opens up, you're going to have to take it if you have the run. And down the back straightaway, Robinson going to nose ahead. And who is going to be the best pusher? You got Ross Tatum, you got Kyle Bowen, you got Brian Lynch. These 3, who is going to push the driver ahead of them the best?
Who's going to give it all to get up front and win here tonight? 4 laps to go as they come across the tri-oval. Soon to be 3 laps to go. If we get the white flag, this race is official. Any contact or wreck will not bring out a yellow flag. They're going to try out 4 wide in the middle groove, and there it goes wrong as George Kovasic, Trey Jackson, and others spill, and the big one strikes with 3 laps to go here tonight.
No, man, this is going to set up a wild set of restarts here for us. It had to happen at some point there, Sam. I mean, you know, with it being 4 wide, Aaron Hell forced it there once again to the middle, and I mean, push come to shove, and right there, George Kovasic unfortunately got caught up in that with Trey Jackson there too.
Drivers with required damage, Jason Grattan, Aaron Hale, both going to have to come to pit road. Now they both do have fast repairs. They'll stay in the race, but we'll see how far back in the field they fall, as track position could be the key factor of tonight's race, because we're going into overtime in the front. Might be the safest option for some drivers, as wait to see where drivers are going to be. But Zach, Stars and Stripes, different from other leagues we cover, because we only get 1 overtime attempt. This is it for these drivers. Do you pit for tires? Do you stay out for track position? because right now, looking at the drivers that are in a must-win scenario to race for a playoff chance, it's Nate Lynch in 9th place. It's that lead driver of those that need a win. Otherwise, they're just watching their playoff hopes disappear.
Ooh, this is gonna be wild right here, man. I'm telling you what, one attempt, that means you gotta be aggressive. You cannot waste any time. And if we get to the white flag, it's all or nothing, Sam. This is about to get crazy, and we'll see if someone can, win themselves into the playoffs, or will we have someone gain themselves some points for those playoffs?
Who's willing to make the big moves for themselves? The field about to be entering pit road. For those that have an opportunity to make this stop, is the tires worth it, or is it track position? We know there's going to be a group of drivers that have damage that have to come in to get their damage repaired, but how many drivers won't come in? Aaron Hale going to be the first of those who has to come to pit road as a puff of smoke in the back. I believe that was Jason Gratton who was having a puff of smoke for himself, his engine expiring, but luckily we'll be able to get into pit road. Other drivers, though, it looks to be from 14th on back, all going to be getting damage repaired, get some tires, and get back out there on course.
Yeah, no, I have an opportunity still, so we'll see if the opportunity opens up. Does the door open for somebody? I mean, we've seen crazy stuff. We've seen people from 15th, 16th position win races before at plate tracks, and you also seen right there going around the pace car. That's Scott Rickard. He's getting his lap back for the lucky dog. Don't count out the 05. We know he's known to be aggressive, and he'll try to anything in his power to get up there and win this thing.
Curious now that he got the lucky dog spot if he's going to pull into pit road and use his fast repair. He manually repaired his vehicle, but at this point, this is it. Come into pit road. If you've got damage, you're in the back. Use that fast repair. There's no more stops after this, and that's exactly what everyone who came into pit road did. You took your fast repair. You're trusting your fate to see if you can have the run to get yourself into victory lane. But leading the charge, Brian Chu, who's won a couple times, who's won at Daytona in the past, and hoping that this 18, who is showing speed back in the beginning stages of Stars and Stripes, can bring back that magic that he once had for season 1 and 2 for tonight's race. It's not for a playoff berth, but what a story it could be for this 18.
It would be an amazing win. Again, yeah, like I said, not a playoff berth, not enough races to get that minimum in to get the win in your in ability. But still, for Brian Chu, that's it still would be an amazing feat to go out here and get a win. And he's just super speed. He's done really good at the super speedway, so no surprise to see him up here once again fighting for it. But he's going to have plenty of competition all around him to try to make this happen. And the question is also, how do you time the restart? What lane do you pick? Because then you're picking who pushes you. There's a lot going through your mind as a driver when you go around these pace laps, and they're long pace laps, Sam. You got a lot of time to think here.
You're thinking about, okay, who's my ally? Who can I work with? Or do I have friends even near me that are willing to work with me? Or who's my teammate that maybe I'm trying to help get into victory lane? There's a lot of different talking points, and you never know how it's all going to go down, but we do know this. This is the last race of the regular season. This is our final restart of the night. We only get one overtime at 10. This is going to be our second caution we've had all night long. And the first one was probably the most bizarre wreck I've seen in a while. But the second, that was the big one we expected to have. But this race, with this being the last restart, we can have this race finish under yellow. If we go on this restart, we have a caution on that first lap. This race will conclude under yellow flag conditions. It's going to be based off where iRacing is positioning for you once the yellow is thrown. Then also, if we get the white flag, this race becomes official and no yellow flag will end this race. And if that happens, the gloves are off. Beating and bang is going to happen, and drivers can wreck. No yellow will be thrown at that point. And for the field, they know that's when the utter chaos can consume this field.
Yeah, if we get to that white flag, it's no lift at that point, Sam. If they start wrecking, we could definitely have some interesting things play out. But again, it's tough to get, from pretty far back. You need a lot of help because it's not a lot of time to get the momentum rolling, as they would say. It takes really 2 laps, I would say, to get really up the true speed at these super speedway tracks. So you got to be willing to risk it here, and also be willing to be a little bit lucky if you're farther back to get some help, because it's just so tough to build that momentum and time to get the run and the ability to go up there and fight for it. But tell you what, nonetheless, we're going to see how it does play out here with the one attempt at the green-white checkered. Who's going to go out here and get a victory tonight at Talladega?
For that of Andrew Hess, Dylan Grimm, their fates are hoping for drivers that didn't have enough starts or people that are already in our top 12 of points to win here tonight, and they will race for playoffs. But if someone else can get into victory lane, the likes of Nate Lynch, Christian Loschin, Zach Kreitz, or others, if they can get into victory lane, well, that could bump out either the 54 or the 23. We're into the restart zone, the final restart of the night, the ButtKicker 200. Let's find out who's making it to the playoffs, as it's Brian Chu, James Lowe, both getting an excellent launch, and the 18 is already in front of the 99.
Great jump up there in front for the 18, and now what does the 99 do? What are his options? Who does he have to help him? Because he's got Robinson right there, but that bottom lane being led by the 44, Kyle Boland. Here he comes. Does he have an opportunity to get a victory?
Kyle Boland sending it with speed, but they're already dashing. That middle groove just dissipated. It's down to just Ross Tatum, who's trying to sweep the super speedways. The 21, one back at Daytona. They kept it clean and green all the way through to the end at Daytona at the end of the race. Can they stay 3 wide for this run? Through 3 and 4, the exit of 4. They are hoping to get the white flag. Brian Chu with the run, but that third lane with Joshua Robinson is flying at this moment. That middle groove is falling now. It's Nate Lynch who's moved up to third in line in the middle, but you can't make passes. It's your freaky fast white flag. Zach, this is it. Who's winning and making the playoffs?
Here we go, down into 1 and 2, 3 wide. Up top, it's Robinson with the help from the 21 of Ross Tatum, but the 18 of Chu, he's been able to surge ahead down these back straightaways, but this time it's going to be the 30 of Robinson leading the way. Does the inside have a final prayer here coming through 3 and 4? It's going to be a showdown out of 4 though.
3 wide, Joshua Robinson, Ross Tatum going to be the 2 drivers on the outside row. Brian Chu's going to get the surge with an inside lane. What momentum are they going to have off the exit? Ryan Lynch is not close enough. It looks to be Robinson. It looks to be Chu. 3 wide entering the tri-oval. You don't know who's going to have the momentum. The inside row looks good. They're wiggling. They're spinning. They're wrecking. Who's going to win? Zach Kreitz at the line. Zach Kreitz. Kreitz. It took him 3 seasons. The winner in. The 46 did it.
Whoa, we just had 12 cars finishing within 1/10 of a second, folks. I don't even know. That was like a 7 wide finish.
He was 5th in line on the outside, and Zach Kreitz saw everyone direct in front of him. The opening on the outside row, and the 46 is stealing a spot into the playoffs.
What a ride that was for him, Sam. He just found the only hole available to him, and he made it to the checkered flag. And guess what? That breaks the trend of him not getting back, man. That is crazy.
2 seasons of heartbreak, 2 seasons where he was leading off the exit 4 and he wrecked off the exit of 4. And for this race, the 46, he looked like he had no chance, no hope, but it was a bad bump through the tri-oval that gets the 30 out of shape, and everyone scatters and spills, and Zach Kreitz finds the opening. Oh my goodness, as we see the replay, there's the slip, the slide, the automatic move to the outside. Everyone else is stacking up. They're running into one another, but it just opens up with the hole, and Kreitz beats out the 30 of Robinson to the line.
What a finish. There's Ross Tatum goes flying, but I'm telling you what, Sam, that was one of the best Talladega finishes I've ever seen. And Zach Kreitz, I mean, it's just crazy to say it, but he's got it done.
He has got it done, and the math of the calculators have to be brought out, because where's Andrew Hess? Where is Dylan Grimm? And I believe for Dylan Grimm, he had enough positioning between himself and the 54 last season's champion of Hess not making the playoffs, Zach. It's looking to be shown here as you see just the cluster of drivers on screen. This doesn't make any sense. It's, you know, we talk about 3 wide, 4 wide. How many cars are stacked on one another there?
I'm speechless.
Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide. I think it might be, with Whirl being stacked underneath someone. I mean, what in the world? Oh my
Wow.
goodness. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, Robert, our producer, will continue having fun looking at this just shot of madness. But for us of the booth, we're going to step away. When we come back, we'll talk to our top 3 and a spotlight driver. Woo, what a finish here at Talladega. Well, the history of some of the best finishes on Freaky Fast Broadcasting have been striking in 2023, and this one goes right up there with some of our best that we've had so far. Congratulations to our ButtKicker 200 winner as we move down to victory lane. After 2 seasons of heartbreak, of exiting turn number 4 and finding himself caught up in a wreck, it took him the 3rd time. 3rd time's a charm. And Zach Kreitz, from a miracle position, finds himself with the win, and he will be locked into the playoffs. Zach, congratulations. You are a Stars and Stripes Racing Series winner, and you are in the playoffs for Season 7.
Oh, thanks, guys. How about that race, though? That was nuts. No way I thought being 3rd, 4th car on the outside that I was going to be able to pull that one off, and then stuff just happens at the end, though. But man, I'm super excited about that. That was super fun.
Yeah, that was one of the best finishes ever. I mean, to be straight up honest, I mean, that was amazing to see there, Zach. So first off, congrats to you, man, making it through that. But I mean, take us through the last lap. I mean, what's going through your head? You know, you're in a must-win position. You're on the outside, and you kind of stuck where you are. But what's going through your mind?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for what just happened, honestly. But in the back of my head, I kind of knew I really didn't have a shot at it unless something like that happened. So fortune favors the brave, I guess. High and wide on the outside will get it done for you. A lot better than last year's finish, that's for sure. But thank you, guys.
I mean, it certainly is. I mean, Zach, I know coming into a super speedway race, you've always been a strong contender to watch out for. What was the mentality here tonight? Because it just seemed like all those drivers that were in a must-win scenario, no one was really being too aggressive and just kind of let it lie where it was going to be.
Yeah, I was just really trying to stick with my teammates, Christian and Jason, try to help them get in if I can get in, obviously. And obviously, Chris is one of the best at the plate tracks too, so I was kind of following him for a little bit, but just trying to stay clean. The fast repair kind of gives you a little safety, a little margin for error, but it's always good to save it to the end. Luckily, I didn't have to use it, but yeah, just try to keep it clean. And then I got stuck on the bottom there a couple different times, and there's just nowhere to go when you're 3x3 for 10 rows.
I mean, it was utter chaos. We're proud of you, Zach, for getting it done here tonight. Congratulations on making the playoffs. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours.
Well, thank you guys for the broadcast. Thanks for the admins, Nate and Derek and all them. Thanks to my teammates, Jason and Christian, and Chris for this race, and my sister for watching. And yeah, I'm just happy to be in the league, man. I get in leagues like this for moments like that, and that was so much fun.
Crazy finish for Zach Kreitz, maybe already top of the board for our top 5 finishes of October. Congratulations on this win, and good luck in the playoffs starting next week.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.
We hope so as well. As we move from victory lane, we go to 2nd place, and these reactions are going to be priceless. We got Joshua Robinson with us. Josh, exit of the trioval, you found yourself almost the leader, and then you were being spun around. What was going through your mind on the exit of turn 4 to the crossing of the finish line?
I was just super excited to see where I was going to end up, and happy it was still second. That was a lot of fun.
It really looked like a lot of fun, Josh. Right? You guys were putting on a show 3 wide for, I'd say, 95% of that race, and it seemed like a lot of times you were the driver up top. I mean, what made you like that top side so much?
It was open.
Fair enough. If it was open, it might as well be taken. Josh, we find ourselves now with the playoffs being done. It looked like tonight it was a lot of just stay in your own place, hope that your lane moved forward, some of a night, but now we're into the playoffs. What is your thoughts going into this first round of the playoffs, as it's going to be at Rockingham and then at Charlotte?
I definitely like both those tracks. I like those intermediate styles. Mile and a half cookie cutters, if you will. Those seem to suit my style quite a bit. So I'm excited for those. Excited just to get in the playoffs, just because that's what we're here for, right?
Hey, we're excited to see who's going to get the championship done. It's looking like unofficially that last season champion Andrew Hess is not going to be there. Kind of puts you in a spot where we'd say you're one of the favorites to watch out for, and we hope that we get to talk to you more during the playoffs. But Josh, before we officially let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Sure. Shout out to Zach and to Brian. Zach on the win, and then Brian Chu for a really good finish there. That it was fun running with those guys all night up front. And congrats to Zach for sneaking his way on by on that outside. That the picture we have in the Discord chat here is definitely something to see. Thanks to my teammates, Brian, Tom, and Andrew. Good team finish tonight. That'll help out Team Spite in the championship points for the teams. And thanks to everyone that came out, and appreciate you guys doing the broadcast. I am definitely looking forward to going back and watching this.
Yeah, that ending was crazy. That's Joshua Robinson at 30 Machine. Congratulations on second, and good luck in the playoffs.
Appreciate it, guys.
As we get to see the replay, as we're concluding that portion of our interview, I mean, still crazy to see how the ending of the race went down. But we go to third place to get their point of view on the incident with Brian Chu in the 18. Brian, you sneak with third. All the different images we see, you cross the line completely sideways across the line. Not the most preferred way to cross the finish line, but man, how are you feeling coming away third?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's great to get a top 5 finish. It's been some rough going the last few weeks. Missed a couple weeks too, but I don't know. I mean, we had a good game plan there with teammates with James, so I'm kind of disappointed the caution came out with a couple to go because I think it was either going to be me or him taking it home. So on a restart, I was comfortable going up in front of James, and I liked that middle line. I thought it was the fastest line, and felt like we had the roll coming to the checkered flag. I saw Josh on that outside, and I just feel like I was going to hit the line first, and all of a sudden, boom, get wiped out from the right side. I go back and look at it. I see, I think 21 was just trying to push him, and I get it. He's trying to push him, help him, not trying to wreck him. But kind of sucks because it just sucks to get wrecked right there, right before the start finish line, because I think we had it. But yeah, I see Zach's going forward, Josh is going backwards, and I'm going sideways for the top 3. So I think we kind of covered it all there.
That y'all really did, Brian. It was a wild finish there coming down to, and I mean one of the best all time. I think even in iRacing, I haven't seen nothing like that, such as 12 cars finished within 1/10 of a second with each other. But you spoke about the middle line. Just take us through the line choice tonight, because it seemed like all 3 lines could actually work pretty well tonight, where you stayed 3 wide 95% of the race.
Yeah, track position was huge because we went 3 wide, I think, half, the first lap, and I was in the middle pretty much the whole race. I just felt like you got a little bit more of a roll coming off of 4, and getting that to the start finish line, and kind of the bottom line, you get bogged down a little bit. And then the top lane, I kept monitoring that the whole race, and it seemed like they would get a run and get next to us, but just not get that enough momentum to get by us. I think they did a hell of a job on coming to the checkered flag, because that was about as close as they had got coming to that stripe, because I was kind of seeing lap by lap how close it would be. So I was kind of looking at that. But I felt like that middle line just had a nice roll off all the corners, basically, but especially coming off of 4, hitting that tri-oval. And if you trust the guy pushing you behind you, I really felt like we could have won that race, or James would have pushed me to that win for sure. But it just, unfortunately, when you pick the outside line, if something happens, you're kind of in calamity's way. So that's what ended up happening, and we almost made it. I'm surprised we didn't start wrecking before that, but it was really fun. I mean, most of the race we were running 3 wide like that. So shout out to the whole league for keeping it clean for most of that time, and it was fun. You could say that for sure.
It was fun to watch from our point of view. Congratulations, Brian, on a top 3 finish here tonight. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours.
Yeah, I mean, thank my boys at Moonshine Mafia. Just Chris, I think he's a little mad at me because he got wiped out in that first caution, and just kind of got in the wrong spot. And I checked up for the guys in front, and he didn't, and it just kind of got him in a little trouble. So sorry to Chris for that, but thank him for we work well together on these super speedways and stuff. So appreciate him, George Kovacic and James. Man, we had it. Me and James Lowe, I think we had it. Unfortunately, that last caution came out, and then he was definitely going to push me there to the win. So appreciate James a lot, and good luck to those 2 boys in the playoffs. They're going to be hard to deal with. Just thank you guys for the broadcast. It's always a great time. Thank Nate Lynch and Derek Offerman and the whole league for having me. I've been in the league since season 1, so it's kind of like some of those guys are like family, so appreciate them.
Well, Brian, it's good to see you again. Getting a top 5 finish for yourself, and we hope that you continue to perform well into the playoffs. I know you're not officially in the playoffs, but we hope that we get to talk to you more throughout these last couple of weeks.
All right, guys, appreciate it.
That's going to be 18 Machine and Brian Chu coming away with a third-place finish as we go down to talk to 13th place finisher, and we believe a driver that sneaks his way in just slyly. It's going to be Dylan Grimm, who we are waiting for official confirmation, but we believe unofficially should be in the playoffs. Dylan, you come away with the one mentality. Stay in front of Andrew Hess, and you were doing pretty well at that for most of the race. What was your mentality, though, coming to those last couple of laps knowing the gloves were about to come off and you didn't know where you're going to finish at the end of the day?
Yeah, on that last restart, I just wanted to keep it clean so that I kept enough points in case if Hess came up there, which he did end up passing me. I just wanted to stay up good enough so that even if we did get a new winner, which we did, was with Zach, that I'd still be good. So I think by my math, I squeaked by like 7 points or so. So yeah, that was a wild race.
That it really was a wild race, and I'm sure definitely nerve-wracking for you coming down there counting points coming to the end. But yeah, like you said, with our math too, we believe you should be in. So how do you feel coming with the upcoming playoffs? I mean, we got Rockingham up next, Charlotte, 2 really different tracks, but 2 tracks I could put on a show. How do you feel?
I think I feel pretty decent. I've been gaining some momentum recently. Started off the season pretty bad. But I like Rockingham quite a bit. Ran there in the officials a few months ago, and I liked this car there a lot. So yeah, we'll just go round by round and see if I can make my way through from the bottom.
Well, Dylan, again, congratulations on getting a great finish for yourself. That was needed of getting a 13th, but ultimately making the playoffs. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to shout out Nate and everyone who puts on this league. I have a blast racing in here every week. You guys put on a great broadcast. I love going back and watching the replays of the races. My papa for spotting for me every race this season, and then any of my other family members out there watching.
Well, that is Dylan Grimm in the 23 machine taking one of the final spots in the playoffs. Congratulations and good luck heading into the playoffs.
Thank you, guys.
Well, as we move from our interviews, we have our 12 drivers that will be running for the championship. Scott Rickard, Ross Tatum, Chris Worrell, Josh Robinson, Kyle Bowling, James Lowe, Kyle McCoy, June White, Thomas Ogle, and Diego Valle were already locked in. It was the battle between Dylan Grimm and Andrew Hess on who was going to be 12th in points, just in case a surprise winner came out. And Dylan Grimm got 11th in points. Andrew Hess, our former champion from last season, eliminated. Didn't even make the playoffs for the 54. It's been a struggle this season. That one's going to sting aggressively for himself. And instead, it's 13th in points and a winner because of tonight, Zach Kreitz, that will take the last spot in the playoffs. Congratulations, that 46 machine. As we talked verbally about where the drivers finished, mainly because SDK, iRacing, there was complications on where they were at. So this is where iRacing says the drivers finished. This is going to be where we are going to be placing these drivers. Zach Kreitz, winner of tonight's race, locked into the playoffs with Joshua Robinson second. Brian Chu finishes third with Brian Lynch fourth. James Lowe finishes 5th, 6th goes to Ross Tatum, Andrew Medlin finishes 7th, Nate Lynch finishes 8th, 9th goes to Joshua Altis, and Andrew Hess finishing out our top 10.
And I tell you what, Sam, it's crazy to say when a leaderboard gets messed up that much by how close the gap is. So some tough nights for guys who fell farther back, such as Scott Rickard, Diego Valle, Gene White, who had their mistakes back in 21st, 23rd, 26th. But you got guys like Grimm, who 13th tonight should be good enough to move them on, and Andrew Hess there, of course, 10th, not going to be moving on. That is it's heartbreaking for a former champion not to be moving on after a season like he had last season, Sam.
Yeah, the consistency for Andrew Hess last season proved with the championship. The consistency this season, though, has been so rocky that it came down to tonight's race where he could finish, and the gap was too large over Dylan Grimm, and the 54 no longer racing. Talking about how close the finish was, our top 12 drivers that finished here tonight, all within all within 1/10 of a second. Usually that's the finish between just first and second most races, but our top 12 all within a blanket. Crazy to see how tonight's race finished out. I mean, Zach, the playoffs certainly should be a different swing than the way that this race ended, as we got Rockingham as well as Charlotte for the first round of the playoffs. Then round 2, the drivers go to New Hampshire, Kansas before the championship race. The final 4 race at Auto Club to finish out the season. 5 races left before we crown a champion for season 7, and it certainly should be a good one.
Definitely going to be a good one if we can continue that trend of what we had tonight. I mean, that's going to be hard to just show up, of course, in these playoffs, but man, I'm super excited, especially with Rockingham coming up next week. That's going to be a fun race. Tons of fall off, tons of tire wear, tons of strategy, especially with how these guys go green. We could definitely see some interesting things play out there. As that being a first racetrack, that's definitely got some people, I think, a little worried because of how difficult and tough that track is. So it's going to be fun to see who can go there and start off the playoffs well, and then see who can finally, after the 5 weeks are over, be that champion.
Well, if you want to see other playoffs action that's going on here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, well, we take the weekend off as usual, but we're right back here Monday night, ISRC Truck Series. Well, tonight you got to see who made it into the playoffs. For Monday, it's time to see who makes the final 4, as it will be the last race of the round of 8. Iowa going to be the destination for the Truck Series on Monday. Tuesday, they're still in the regular season, but they're heading to Las Vegas, the second to last race of the regular season, to see who can sneak away with a win and maybe be a stealer of their top 12 in points. Wednesday, they're in the championship round, 2 races. Who can grab the most points? Well, you're going to have to find out on Wednesday night. Going to be a good one, as they've got 2.5-mile races. Homestead going to be the first on Wednesday, before we're right back here next Thursday as the playoffs begin. Rockingham. The Rock has been dangerous in other leagues that we've watched out for. Who will survive the danger next week? Got to find out here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Well, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you so much for joining with us. The last race of the season 7 regular season is in the books. Zach Kreitz, 3rd time's a charm, a win-in situation, and he gets it done for the 46, stealing the last spot in the playoffs. Congratulations to that 46 machine. But for us, we cannot wait. Monday night, who makes the final 4 at Iowa? That will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.